Welcome, everybody, to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey, everybody, John here. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe and push the like button. It helps us get the word out to as many people as we possibly can, because that's what we're here to do, is to help others get to where they're going. Today, I want to talk about succession planning. Succession planning can be a very scary topic for frontline leaders, for all leaders. It's a conversation that organizations rarely have. However, they get caught in a pickle whenever they don't have the conversation and they don't have a succession plan in place. Succession plan, I encourage everybody, as part of strategic planning, you need to have a succession plan. You need to have a workforce development plan. You need to have an employee engagement plan. You need to have a hiring plan. You need to have a training plan. You need to have all those plans. All of that fits underneath the succession planning umbrella. I'm going to specifically talk about two topics today: individual succession planning and then team succession planning, or group, or however you organize company, your organization, if it's by teams, if it's by groups, if it's by, companies or sub-companies, however that looks like. You need to have some type of group succession plan, and then you need to have individual succession plans. So let's dive into this. Team succession. Let's talk about team or group succession planning. A couple things that I work organizations through is an exercise I call systems of systems. And if you think about your organization in the 35,000 foot view, right? What processes, what tools, what maybe systems, what documents, what is running, what practices do you have within your organization that help others get the job done? Ask yourself that question and break it down. I always like to get in front of a whiteboard or some stickies. I always work with groups. I love the yellow Post-it sticky notes. I carry them around with me everywhere. They are a fabulous tool whenever you're brainstorming or whenever we're doing group activities. Here's where I'm going with this. I want from the top down, start from the top down and take part of your organization. And not all businesses, you may not have an HR organization that has training and hiring, and you got your position and descriptions and how you hire to that. That could be one organization. You got your budget organization. You may have a administrative type organization. You may have, a operations type organization if you're running that type of company. Or guess what? You may be the organization. So however you're structured, look at that from big divisions or big buckets. And then once you've gotten that broken down, then go into the individual teams. So if you're a large organization, this might take a while. But if you're a smaller organization, or if you just have a very small team, you might not even have to work through this exercise. It might not take you a long time. However, it's still important to understand and have, remember I mentioned succession planning needs to be part of your strategic plan. So you still need to have that mission. You still need to have that vision of where you're going, because as fast as technology, as fast as we are evolving as companies, as individuals, you need to make sure that you are hiring for that skill set. I walk in too many times and I ask for position descriptions, or I talk to hiring people, or you're recruiting maybe for a network marketing company, or whatever you're doing to get new recruits, to get new people in the door. If you are using an old position description, an old description that, I need somebody to have a really good social network, or I need them to be strong in communication skills. Well, yeah, that's a no-brainer, right? However, where do you want them to be strong in those communication skills? Do you want them to be able to write, emails well? Do you want them to be able to write magazines and publish those magazines? I don't know too many organizations that do that. We want people, at least in my organizations and the people that I coach and I mentor, they want people to be able to communicate, whether it's instant message or it's, virtually on a Zoom call or a Teams call. That's the type of communication skills that we're looking for. However, If you don't have that in any of your postings, or if you are looking for somebody that you hired, a specific skill set that you hired a year, 2 years, 3 years back, you are not going to get the next person in line who's ready to propel, who's ready to push your organization forward. So this is why team succession is so important. And when I talk about systems of systems, there's practices, there's processes, there's tools within the organization. And it's not meant to focus on those particular things. It's meant to look at the bigger picture and how all of those things are going to propel your organization, your team, your group forward, where you are going. That's why it has to be tied into your mission and vision. Where do you see your organization in the next year, in the next 3 years, in the next 4 years, right? I would even say, where do you see it in the next 6 months to a year? Because that's how fast things are changing. I used to do strategic plans that were 4 to 5 years long. Guess what? Not anymore. I am coaching and doing strategic plans that are 6 months to a year, 2 years at the max. 2 years at the max. And workforce development, employee development, team development, personal development, whatever you want to bucket that succession planning in, do it. Put hiring people that will propel your organizations to the future. Put in there, workforce of the future. Put in there a blurb within your strategic plan that has to do with succession planning, and specifically your team succession planning. There's organizations, and you'll see it. I see a centralized organization, and then I see a decentralized organization. And I will tell you that pendulum swings back and forth. We consolidate resources, and then we spread out the resources. And 5 years later, we consolidate them back up again. Okay? If that's your vision, then you need to have a clear mindset about how your organization is going to function in a decentralized organization, and vice versa if it's centralized. So there's specific things that you got to begin to think about as a frontline leader. And this filters down to the team level. What does your team currently look like? Do you have a centralized team, or do you have a decentralized team where you got to go outside of your team to get certain things done? Or is it something that you stay within your team? Because that is two distinctly different organizations. Think about that. If you got to consistently depend on others outside of your team to get work done, that is different than if, you're in control of everything within your team or within your company. All right. So team succession is very important. And as we talk about team succession, along with that comes corporate knowledge. How are you tracking corporate knowledge? And this leads into the individual succession planning that we're going to talk about. How is that corporate knowledge being tracked? That 5, 10, 20-year employee or team member that is working for your organization, that is on your team, how are you capturing the best practices? If they hit the lottery and they walk out tomorrow, are you able to get somebody, relatively soon, backfill them, step into their shoes, and pick up pretty easy? I'm not saying they're going to 100% be able to do what the past individual did, but if you have good individual succession planning and you're capturing those tasks, those individual tasks, you're capturing best practices, you're meeting with your team weekly or, whatever that looks like frequently. I don't like to put a frequency on team meetings because, again, it depends on your organization. It depends on how often you need to talk to your individuals, but you should be talking to them enough to where pretty good understanding about the different things that they do. I will tell you, I got caught in a very bad place to where an individual was doing work and they were doing a great job, a fabulous job, but they were the one-stop shop. They were the sole source of getting that work done. And when they walked out the door, oh my goodness, I'm still picking up the pieces. And shame on me for not doing individual succession planning. So individual succession planning also speaks to who are you replacing or teaching to replace you? Who are you training? Who's going to take your spot? A lot of organizations have really great leaders and they get into that leadership role and they do a great job. They communicate well. They're very team oriented. They're getting things done. The engagement within their team, there's positive energy, all of those things that we want in a leader. And then it stops there. We're not training that next person. We're not training a group of people to take our position. position. We're not looking for that. And that's where mentoring and coaching come from. That's where you need to be involved. I know that frontline leaders, you got a lot of things going on. You got a lot of things on your plate. But ask yourself this question. Do you want to leave the organization? If you do, decide to leave. Some people, they will stay in their positions until they retire, or until they, decide to go do whatever they want to do. But do you want to leave the organization better than when you got there or when you started? Specifically, if it's a company that you started, you want to leave a legacy. You want to leave a legacy for your children. You want to make an impact. But who are you training to take that over? Who are you training to step into your place and be able to do the things that you are able to do? Who are you training to make sure that your legacy lives on, that it's not just one and done? So next time you say, oh, I don't have time for succession planning, make sure to ask yourself, and you got to be honest with yourself. I've seen it way too many times. People build up organizations, people build up teams, and they're great. They're great at it. And then whenever, a domino falls, what happens? It creates a cascade, and all the dominoes begin to fall, and the organization crumbles. The values, the culture, all of that crumbles. So I hope that this has helped. Succession planning needs to be tied into your strategic plan. You need to have a team, group, a subset, however your organization, however your team, however your company is structured. Make sure that each team has a team succession plan and then individual succession plans, and it starts with you as the frontline leader. It starts with you. Who are you training behind you? And then it just cascades down because you model how the organization needs to behave. People will do as you do, not as you say. I hope this helps somebody this evening. Go be great. We'll talk to everyone later. Goodbye. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps us get others to where they're going.